Newsnite. Security forces contain an attack by gunmen on Jos Correctional Center. Department of State Security raises alert over threats of attack on military bases. Police DPR in Fuga, Oyo State is kidnapped. And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa condemns imposition of travel bans in his country following the identification of the new Omicron variant of COVID-19. The Medium Security Custodial Center in Jos Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, was attacked by gunmen who stormed the facility today with sophisticated weapons. According to a statement from the Controller of Corrections and Public Relations Officer, Francis Enobore, the invaders arrived at Jos Custodial Center at about 5 p.m. and immediately approached the main gates where they were engaged and resisted by the armed squad personnel in a gun battle before breaking into the yard. The statement added that though the invaders gained entrance into the yard, they were however trapped within the facility as personnel from other security services were mobilized to assist the armed guards in cordoning the perimeter wall and the entire area with additional reinforcements from the response squad of the custodial center. The situation, according to the spokesperson, is presently under control as the attackers' firing power is being subdued by superior fire from a combined team of security agencies. Meanwhile, the Department of State Services has raised an alarm over plans by terrorists to attack military bases in border towns across the country. The security agency also put the Nigeria Customs Service on red alert to avert the pending attacks by the insurgents on Ogun border communities and other border towns across the country, noting that the warning is based on intelligence it gathered. In a leaked memo dated November 25, 2021, and addressed to the Customs Area Controller, Nigeria Customs Service, Ogun Area Command, Abeokuta, the DSS advised customs and other security agencies in the country to put countermeasures in place to frustrate the plot by the insurgents. Channels Television obtained the memo today, and notice was stamped, received by the CAC's office same day. The leaked document was titled, Plans by Insurgents to Launch Attacks on Military Bases in Various Border Communities. Enforcement and security agencies with operational bases at border communities are advised to take note of the above threat and in place countermeasures with emphasis on personal security of operatives to frustrate the planned attack, please. And as the number of surrendering members of terrorist groups continues to rise, the Borno State government is constructing even more shelters to accommodate them. The community-based reconciliation effort driven by the federal and state government is now in its 4th month. However, not much is known about the program as its activities are shrouded in secrecy.
As the onslaught of the Northeast insurgency continues, the mass surrender by Boko Haram insurgents is considered a victory in the quest for peace. Experts have always posited that non-kinetic measures alone cannot end this protracted war. The armed forces says up to 18,500 persons associated with the terrorist organization have so far surrendered and have been handed over to the government for reintegration. But the reintegration exercise is shrouded in secrecy. It is not clear if a de-radicalization program is ongoing, like the military-driven Operation Safe Corridor, coordinated by the former Chief of Defense Staff.
If the community is involved in the rehabilitation and reintegration of this former Boko Haram, then it will be easy to really deal with. So I think the approach that is being handled right now, which is different from Safe Corridor Initiative, this is community-based arrangement strategy.
The surrendered terrorists are being camped in locations across the state. An unspecified number of them are being kept at this transit Hajj camp in Maiduguri along the Damaturu Highway. Journalists and visitors are not allowed to come into the camp. However, we can see more tents are being constructed within the camp to make room for their growing number. Locals who live around the camp are concerned for their safety.
Now we have 3 artillery brigade. we have the Air Force Base, we have the airport. These are strategic places. If anything should happen, the civilian populace, God forbid, are the collateral, will be the casualties. And this is what we are afraid of.
Not all surrendered terrorists are living in the camp. Some of them have been reintegrated into the society and live normal lives in Maiduguri. These two young men and many others like them have dissolved into the local population. They now join laborers on building sites and do other menial jobs to eke out a living while making efforts to reconnect with their families. In the meantime, the government is tight-lipped about its plans for the campers, a strategy causing suspicion among the locals.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, the Gas Aggregation Company of Nigeria, and the Nasarawa State government have signed a memorandum of understanding on gas utilization. This is to enable the state benefit from the ongoing Ajaokuta-Kano Kaduna natural gas pipeline that passes through it. The MOU was signed during a gas business roundtable organized by the parties in Lafia.
It's really a huge privilege.
This is a roundtable discussion on gas business, which has brought together stakeholders in the energy sector, as well as Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari. Discussions center on the federal government's gas master plan, which covers the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano natural gas pipeline, and how Nasarawa State can leverage on the passage of the AKK line through it. Mr. Kyari states the prospects of the AKK pipeline project when completed.
Once the AKK is done, you will have over 2 billion scope of gas, standard cubic feet of gas, in the line all the way to Kano. That means that you have enormous resources on this line. It will also open up additional 2 million scope of gas into the western axis and also into the eastern axis. So at the end of the next 3 to 5 years, you will have over 8 billion scope of gas in the entire network in the country.
Governor Sule is elated by the benefits of the pipeline project for Nasarawa State.
This is exactly what it is, and at the end of the day, all these industries will spring up. That's good news for Nasarawa State. Once we have that, then we have the employment opportunities for our people. We have the training for our people. We have the gas utilization, including by the time we are lucky, our operations in Kiana become possible. We close the gap.
Governor Sule, the NNPC boss, as well as a representative of the Gas Aggregation Company of Nigeria, signed a memorandum of understanding on gas utilization designed around the peculiarities of Nasarawa State.
Yes, we are having the business roundtable, but more importantly, we're going to continue to be engaged, and we are available to help in concretizing each of these opportunities.
This discussion, as well as the MOU signed, are part of the first steps necessitated by the gas utilization expansion framework, where the parties will work towards designing short-term gas supply solutions. The second phase will be a joint effort to actualize gas supply once the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano natural gas pipeline is launched. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
We return to security now. 120 security operatives from the Civilian Joint Task Force, Hunters Association, a vigilante group in Adamawa State, have been trained in handling improvised explosive devices and mines planted by terrorists in some areas of the state. It's coming on the heels of plans by the government to return the people displaced by years of conflict in the northeast to their ancestral homes. A 3-day training in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, has been organized by the Northeast Development Commission in collaboration with the Humanitarian Safety Service.
Peace is gradually being restored to many communities in Adamawa State and the government is putting in place measures for safe return of people who have been displaced from their homes as a result of years of conflict in the northeast region. Part of the measures being taken by the government is this training for personnel of Civilian Joint Task Force (CJTF), Hunters Association and Vigilante Group, as well as civil society organizations, on how to identify and handle undifused improvised explosive devices and mines, which often pose risk to returnees in liberated communities affected by insurgency. According to the facilitator of the training, it is an integral part of the government's plan for safe return of internally displaced persons.
Normally in those kind of war-torn areas, you will have issues of unexploded ordnances, booby traps that have not been fired, improvised explosive ordnances, and other dangerous things that will be inimical to the safe return of such returnees.
Drawn from Fofore, Gombe, Madagali, Michika, as well as Mobi South and North local government areas of Adamawa State, the beneficiaries of the training are happy to have been empowered and hope to utilize what they have learned.
When schools want to resume, the schools have to be observed before the student will go to that area. The security personnel that are expert in checking all the activities of these explosive devices, they have to go there. We have to enlighten the student that anything you see, you should not touch.
I will try my best to do what man can do. That's why I volunteer myself to help my community.
The first phase of the training, organized by the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC) in collaboration with the Humanitarian Safety Service, was held in Borno State, where 6 local government areas also benefited from the bill exercise.
Meanwhile, the Oyo State Police Command has confirmed the abduction of CSP Ibrahim Ishak, who was kidnapped on Friday, December 26th. A statement by the Oyo State Police Public Relations Officer says the DPO was en route Agenabode in a private vehicle with his orderly when they were accosted at Ekwoso by hoodlums suspected to be kidnappers. The armed men suddenly emerged from the bushes and opened fire on their private vehicle, forcing them to stop. They, however, whisked the CSP Ibrahim Ishak into the bushes while the orderly managed to escape. The Commissioner of Police, Oyo State Police Command, CP Philip Aliu Obadu, calls on the general public to remain calm and go about their lawful business as the command is on top of the situation. To this weekend's tragedy, a mother and child have died following a tanker fire at Lafenwa Market in Abeokuta, Borno State capital. According to eyewitnesses, the incident occurred when a tanker laden with premium motor spirit fell and spilled its contents while hoodlums scooped from the fallen tanker. Meanwhile, security operatives and men of the fire service have brought the situation under control.
All we had to do was to cordon off the place. First, to ensure that miscreants do not take advantage of the situation to loot shops. And secondly, to ensure that other casualties are not recorded. That is why we are here, and that's what we are doing now, is to ensure that normalcy returns to this area. The fire services from both the state and federal have been up and doing. They have been able to put off the fire, while efforts are on to transload the remaining petrol still inside the tanker to another tanker. Now we have 2. Apparently those 2 casualties were inside the shop, one of the shops that got burnt. Maybe they did not get the alarm on time, and the bodies have been evacuated now. They have been taken to the mortuary, while investigation into the cause and all other things is still ongoing.
Sad indeed. In part 2, after the break, we examine the funding options for the just unveiled National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Security forces say they're containing an attack by gunmen on Jos Correctional Center this evening. Department of State Security raises alert over threat of attack on military bases. Police DPO in Fuga, Oyo State, kidnapped. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa condemns imposition of travel bans on his country following the identification of the new Omicron variant of COVID-19. Funding the 2021 to 2025 National Development Plan is key to the implementation of the plan. However, the federal government plans to raise the 348 trillion naira from the public and private sector is generating reaction from Nigerians. This special report takes a look at the funding component of the plan.
2 weeks ago, the Federal Executive Council approved the 2021 to 2025 National Development Plan to succeed the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which is due to end by December 31st, 2021. 348 trillion naira is the proposed amount for the implementation of the plan, which the government envisages will meet the needs of Nigerians. The funding is expected to come from the public and private sector. While the government plans to invest 49 trillion naira, the private sector is expected to mobilize 298 trillion naira for the plan.
Regardless of whatever government comes into power after this present administration, the government will still be seeking to continue to strengthen the diversification of the Nigerian economy. And that's one of the major objectives of the plan. We sought to provide a strong foundation for a concentric, diversified economy. Why concentric, diversified? Because already the Nigerian economy is diversified. It's truly diversified. But we want to deepen that diversification. So any government that comes must be doing that, because that is what the electorate also will be asking for. And secondly, we have a major priority to continue to build out critical major infrastructure.
The plan is structured around 6 concepts, including economic growth and development, infrastructure, public administration, human capital development, social development, and regional development. The Minister of Works and Housing speaks on how the plan will impact the energy and transportation sectors.
At our last ministerial retreat, we were having conversations around our ministerial mandates. One of them is energy sufficiency and energy security. The other one is transport infrastructure. Of course, these two are linked. If the transport infrastructure is not sufficient or reliable, the energy and the petrol and petroleum product distribution network becomes vulnerable.
The plan remains an ambitious one, especially because it's coming when the nation is recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. Our former Minister of National Planning speaks on how the government can generate the 348 trillion naira worth of investments it anticipates from the plan.
Through PPP participation of the private sector, injection of funds from governments, tax review, strengthening our tax regime. This, among others, are the areas I believe we can look into as a government to really execute the 2021-2025 development plan as encapsulated by the federal government.
Lofty ideas and plans, you may say, but what Nigerians will look forward to in the days ahead is how the plan will rebuild infrastructure, mobilize more investment, improve security, and positively impact on their livelihoods.
To the judiciary, Justice Nnamdi Dingba of the Federal High Court, Awka Division, has thrown his weight behind the setting up of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria by the Central Bank of Nigeria and granting the agency some special powers to enable it recover its troublesome bad debts. Justice Duma made the statements at an interactive session organized by the Legal Academy for Land Registry Officials, Corporate Affairs Commission personnel, AMCON, and other stakeholders in the nation's capital, Abuja. He says it is imperative to do whatever it takes within the ambit of the law to ensure that individuals who are holding the collective Commonwealth of Nigeria are made to return them to the government through AMCON. AMCON has current outstanding debt of over 4.4 trillion naira, owed it by a few individuals that obtained loans from financial institutions and did not pay back the loans. Consequently, the bad loans were sold to AMCON when it was created in 2010. The company was able to recapitalize a good number of the affected financial institutions and stabilize the financial sector. Meanwhile, the federal government, through the National Assembly, is also thinking of making some amendments in the act establishing AMCON, which gives it some additional powers that would hasten their recovery mandate. If Nigeria's southeast geopolitical zone wants to produce the country's next president in 2023, it must reach out to other zones and groups to achieve that purpose. That's the view of elder statesman Alhaji Tanko Yakasai. He told Channels Television's Ladi Akedulale on our current affairs program Newsnite. And so far, he is not aware of any such meetings taking place between the southeast and the north. Alhaji Yakasai also says there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the position of the southeast with reference to national politics.
The card is on the southeastern people's desk, if you like. It's up to them to try to reach out. I'm a strong supporter of a president from the south after Buhari, and also if he can come from the southeast, I have no problem. I will even support it. My quarrel is that this is not something that you just stay at home and think that people will come to your house and dash it to you. You have to show interest. You have to be serious. You have to try to convince people that you are really up to the task. This is what, in my opinion, is missing from the southeast. There is that desire on their part, but they are not exerting their position to manifest that desire to convince people that, look, they are really serious about it. There is this uncertainty in Nigeria about the position of the southeast, because it is surprising to many people, including people like me. You know, during the First Republic, I was in Nepal, in alliance with the NCNC. And also, during the Second Republic, I was in NPN and closer to Ekemi, Alice Ekemi. There's doubts because this Nnamdi Kanu, who ordinarily, to me, will not be a good candidate for the governorship of any of the southeastern states, is now claiming the attention and support of prominent people in the southeast. Is making people to doubt if the southeast is really ready to produce a credible candidate that will have Nigeria as a whole in his heart of hearts. That doubt is there, no doubt about it.
You can watch the full interview with Alhaji Yakasai on Newsnight. It airs tomorrow, Monday, November 29th, 2021, on Channels TV at 9 p.m. Residents of Magodo Phase 1 Gateway Zone are protesting the security risks they've been exposed to since some alleged land grabbers pulled down the perimeter fencing of their estate in an attempt to forcibly create an access road to a wetland bordering them. The alleged land grabbers are said to be making efforts to develop houses on the green belt, an attempt the estate residents claim could spell environmental disaster for Lagos State. Our correspondent, Chrissy Lems, reports.
Magodo Phase 1 Gateway Zone is a Lagos State government reservation area bordered by wetlands. However, recent development around the estate appears to be shattering the peace the residents have enjoyed over the years. This protest is to express their concerns over the activities of some alleged land grabbers in connivance with landowners, which resulted in the pulling down of their perimeter fence.
It's a government reserved area, and only for us to be confronted by Omoniles to tell us that after fixing this road with our own self-help, that they have thoroughfare, to their own land, which is at the back of this place, which is basically a gorge, as you can see anyway. So the challenge is this. People woke up one morning, November 8th, to discover that the bulldozer came here under the pretense that they were part of the construction work going on, and within minutes, we just saw a portion of our fence already pulled down. It was a shock to everybody.
They say the wetland, which borders the estate and several others, has helped in flood control over the years, and wonder why it's now being considered for housing development without recourse to the environmental effect such move could have.
The Gateway Zone management brought this out some months back, and the Lagos State Commissioner for Environment actually said such will never happen. But despite his statement, we are receiving body languages that are confusing.
However, our representative of the Ojoko family, one of the landowners, dismissed the claim that there was never a route through the estate to the wetland. He says those they sold the space to needed access to their property, which the Residents Association has deprived them of.
Because the road has been there for donkey years. Before even they plan to do anything here, the road is here for donkey years. And if you go down there, the people that living downstairs here, this is the road they are passing through for long before erosion spoiled the road.
Meanwhile, the Lagos State House of Assembly has since set up some committees to look into the issue so as to resolve the conflict amicably. Honorable Sanaya Gumbiade says the House received petition on the matter and had taken several steps, including a visit to the wetland.
I didn't know there was a protest because we are still on the matter. The House has not issued its final words in respect of this. All the House is trying to do is to mediate and see what we can do to actually solve it, so that everybody will see clearly that if this is what the House sees, there is justification for it.
He, however, denied any knowledge of the recent development which led to the pulling down of the perimeter fence of the estate.
If that has been the situation, we would have expected that the estate could have made representation to the committee that they know is still on this matter.
While the various parties await the recommendations of the Lagos State government on the issue, it is expected that whatever decisions reached must be one that considers the safety of the environment, security of lives and property, and the protection of the investment of Lagosians. Chris Lems, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, residents of Borno State in Ikoyi, Lagos, protest building guideline irregularities by some developers. To join us again. Welcome back. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and 116 concerned Nigerians have filed a suit at the Federal High Court, Abuja. They're asking the court to compel and direct President Muhammadu Buhari to take immediate steps to ensure the arrest and prosecution of soldiers and police officers indicted by the Lagos NSAS panel leaked report over the shooting at the Lekki toll gate during a peaceful protest on October 20th, 2020. According to SERAP, the lack of accountability for violations of the rights of protesters has given rise to a growing sense of powerlessness and resentment among victims, their families, and the general public. In a statement, SERAP argues that the Buhari administration has the constitutional responsibility to allow victims of human rights violations to find out the truth in regards to acts committed, to know who the perpetrators of such acts are, and to obtain justice and adequate compensation. No date has been fixed for the hearing of the suit. And in Oyo State, the governor, Seyi Makinde, has said awareness must be heightened as across the state, underage gaming will not be tolerated under any guise. He gave the warning at the 2021 Interactive Forum for stakeholders in the gaming industry across the state. Represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Mrs. Olubamiwo Adeosun, the governor noted that people must be encouraged through relentless sensitization to act responsibly, even as they partake in various gaming activities or face stiff penalties.
Since this administration came on board, people have been our priority. And so all policies that you'd have observed that we're doing are for the people. Whether it's in education, whether it's in health, whether it's in security, agribusiness, infrastructure, it's all centered around the people. And so even though we recognize that what gaming does is it brings revenues into the coffers of the state, we're very clear that even as we pursue the revenue drives, and not just in gaming, but everywhere, we ensure that the people are always considered first, and the interest of the people are always considered. And I'm sure you would recollect that in several fora, His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde has stated that we will not increase taxes. It's part of that. We're not going to create a situation where, because we're looking for revenue, or because we're seeking to increase our revenue to help the people, we impoverish the people. So that's not a strategy at all. Everything that we do is for the people.
We're ready to host the Nigerian University Games again. That's coming from the authorities of University of Lagos. As it demonstrates its readiness, the school has held the official flag-off ceremony of the Games on its campus. It was attended by the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, the Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Olarinwaju Tejuosho, and other dignitaries.
The Nuga Games is returning to the University of Lagos for the fourth time, and the excitement on the faces of the students and the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, says it all. The institution is once again hosting the nation's biggest multi-sports event for Nigerian universities 23 years after it last hosted the Games.
I want us to know, I want our students to know that Nuga Games is about our students. We want to showcase our students, the students of the University of Lagos, as one of the best students all over the world. Best student in terms of sports, best student in terms of academics, best student in terms of innovation, and also in the area of entrepreneurship.
The unveiling of Caddy, the game's mascot, and theme song Champions added spice to the flag-off ceremony.
We have another 4 months. The games are in March. The facilities have been upgraded as we speak. There's a general dizzy pace of work at the sports center, rehabilitation and upgrade of facilities. But beyond that, this is also what has been called a city game. So Lagos is hosting. So we're also going to use the Lagos State facilities.
The torch signifies the official journey and commencement of the preparations for the Nuga Games, as is done everywhere, all the time, all over the world. We will do that tonight on the premises and on the campus of Unilag. 2022, go!
About 136 public and private universities with no fewer than 10,000 athletes will participate in 17 sporting events at the biennial event in March 2022.
To other issues now on the news. On Friday, the Abuja Federal High Court declared 2 bandits groups as terrorist groups. We're discussing that tonight with our data consultant, Babajide Ogusowo, who's just come into the studio. Terrible traffic outside, right?
It's traffic that you refer to as bandit type of traffic. It's,
and to be
so
happy that
horrible.
it's Sunday, really bad. But we're grateful you're here, and thanks for showing up. So, first of all, does it make any difference, that the courts, well, it wasn't the Supreme Court, right? This was the Federal High Court that declared these groups as terrorist organizations. What sort of difference does it make?
In terms of strategy, it doesn't make significant difference. But in terms of how the armed forces will approach insecurity and treat these bandits, it makes a lot of difference. So there's something to smile about and there's something to frown about. Yes, the traffic, something to frown about. Or there are lots of things we should smile about because there are questions that now have answers. Questions such as, who exactly are those terrorizing Nigeria? 2, why has it been difficult to stop them from terrorizing Nigeria? And 3, what does the future look like? So tonight I'd like to start with the facts that talk about who are those terrorizing Nigeria. And the Global Terrorism Database has done extensive study on those terrorizing Nigeria since 2002. Here are the facts. More than half of all terrorist attacks still are by the group known as Jamaat al-Sunnah Lil Dawa Wal Jihad Boko Haram. 52% of all terrorist attacks since 2002 caused by the Boko Haram. The other group, which is why there's something to smile about, of those terrorizing Nigerian are classified as unknown, 24%. Now, it's in this group that the Federal High Court has identified 2 groups as those that are known as the unknown. So what is happening is that 24% of all those terrorizing Nigeria, we now have some names to classify them as. And the Federal Court has said that Yan Bindiga and Yan Tal Ada, those 2 groups, if I've pronounced them well, should be seen as terrorist groups because their acts are acts of terrorism. In other words, we now have more names to call these people rather than just to refer to them as bandits. And that makes it clear to be able to identify who specifically are we talking about. So yes, we know one group popularly known as Boko Haram. Yes, the Global Terrorism Database has identified Fulani extremists as well. But we now know that in that group, rather than call them bandits or unknown, we now can classify them and call them by a name. And
wouldn't that be some sort of publicity for them? Because it almost sounds like, now that you're giving them a name, it means that, they can further perpetrate, their nefarious activities on Nigerians. How do you stem that?
A wise man once said that which you cannot identify, you cannot fight. So by giving it a name, we clearly know this is who we are fighting. We can identify who are their leaders. We can also put them on the international police watch list, which allows us to be able to easily track their sponsors and their financiers, especially what has been happening in recent times. Look at what has happened, on the Abuja-Kaduna Railroad. It's just days to the end of the year, and several people are asking, who exactly are those behind these attacks? So what we've seen is this sort of classification allows us to be able to find it and to be able to understand that it has been difficult to end terrorism, especially across northern Nigeria, for about one major reason. Yes, there are lots of reasons, but here's the fact. In the northwest, we have 9 million families. In the north central, 5 million families. In the northeast, 9 million families. But here's what the science shows, and that is these terrorists operate mostly in areas that have large land areas.
Yeah, so there's sparsely populated.
Yeah, so we see that most of these terrorist attacks happen in the northeast, and these are the facts from the Global Terrorism Database. Since 2002, more than 2,600 attacks in the northeast, largest land area, over 101,000 square miles. The second region in the north that has the highest number of terrorist attacks, the North Central. Over 895 terrorist attacks, and that's because they also have that large land area. And we've seen the Northwest, over 465 attacks, 83,000 square miles. Now, what's the relationship between land area and these terrorist attacks? Yes, we see that it's an 0.96 correlation, which is almost a one-to-one correlation. That is, terrorists operate in areas in Nigeria that have large land size. And it's because that it allows them to escape. So the larger the land area, it's like a cat and mouse game. You attack, you run. So if there's a large land space, it allows you to attack and to hide. And that's really has been the strategy. So what it tells us is we also have to have a deliberate land management program.
Yeah, and maybe it will be much easier now for the military to, decimate the groups and to control them eventually.
Well, in the final analysis, I'd like to talk about something that is very important, and that is
very quickly,
for us to look at the current danger that we are in, to look at the potential danger, and to look at the future danger. And by current danger, we're looking at people living below poverty across the 3 zones in Nigeria, 67 million people. By potential danger, we're looking at those that are underemployed and unemployed, 19 million across the 3 zones in the northern region. And by the future danger, we're looking at those that are out of school, 9 million across these 3 zones. 67 million, 19 million, and 9 million. Those are the figures that represent Nigeria's current danger, potential danger, and future danger. In the final analysis, Amachi, I'd like to leave you with the words of Abraham Lincoln, who says that the most reliable way to predict the future is to create it. And if we don't look at our current danger, our potential danger, and our future danger, we'll be creating the future backwards.
Thank you again. Always a food for thought you bring to us on the news at 10.
The pleasure is all mine,
Appreciate it.
Amachi.
Thanks again. Beyond our shores now, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says the country will not be imposing further COVID restrictions. He announced the decision after a cabinet meeting where a decision was taken that the country would remain on coronavirus alert level 1 for now, and that the national state of disaster should remain in place. During a nationwide broadcast this evening, President Ramaphosa said, in taking the decision not to impose further restrictions at this stage, we consider the fact that when we encountered previous waves of infections, vaccines were not widely available and far fewer people were vaccinated. This is no longer the case. Vaccines are now available to anyone aged 12 and above. Here's a look at how the UK and other countries have been reacting to the new COVID variant.
Just don't know enough. But
Britain's Health Minister Sajid Javid says he expects to receive advice on whether the government can broaden a booster shot program to try to weaken the impact of the newly identified Omicron variant. Britain announced new measures on Saturday to try to slow the spread of the variant, toughening rules for people arriving in the country and ordering the use of face masks in retail settings and on transport.
we know that vaccines work. Yes, this new variant, they may make it less effective or not, but the vaccines work. They are our first form of defense, and that is why I've also asked our expert advisors on vaccines called JCVI to give me very quick advice on broadening, boosting our booster program, and I expect to get that advice imminently.
Israel is banning foreigners from entering the country for 14 days and using surveillance to halt the spread of the new COVID strain. The ban is expected to come into effect at midnight following a full cabinet approval. The country has so far confirmed one case of the potentially more infectious Omicron strain. The Netherlands have tightened restrictions amid record COVID cases and concerns over the new Omicron variant. For at least the next 3 weeks, hospitality and cultural venues must close by 5 p.m. local time as authorities considered the measures critical to protect the country's hospitals from becoming overwhelmed. Canada is closing its borders to foreign travelers who have recently been to 7 southern African nations: South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, Botswana, Eswatini, Zimbabwe and Mozambique, to help stop the spread of a newly identified variant. The Health Ministry says the nation is acting quickly to protect the health of its citizens. Over in South Africa, residents are getting their COVID-19 jabs at a vaccination center in Johannesburg as concerns abound over the new Omicron variant that was first discovered in their country.
I am worried because, well, it's apparently more dangerous than the previous one due to mutations. So it does bring a lot of worry to me.
It's a global concern, the tourists everywhere. I'm very, very scared. That is why I even came to vaccinate. Because initially I was like, let me see how it goes. But now, it's a thing of concern.
For travelers stranded at an international airport in Joburg, it is quite disappointing to see flights being cancelled again in South Africa following travel curbs imposed by nations worldwide.
After being stranded for 2 years because of COVID, not seeing your family, my parents were deathly ill, so I had to come back when the borders were open to come and see them. And now, only to realize, well, it's happening all over again. And it's like, is this, you don't know what it is, it's disappointing to say the least.
And finally, a group of scientists from Italy's Bambino Gesù Pediatric Hospital in Rome have published the world's first photo of the newly identified Omicron variant. The image in the photo shows the Omicron variant has more mutations in spike protein, the region that interacts with human cells prior to cell entry, compared with the highly infectious Delta variant.
And begin with the English Premier League in sports news. Leaders Chelsea were held to a 1-1 draw at home to Manchester United on Sunday as Manchester City moved to within a point of top spot following a 2-1 win over West Ham in swirling snow. Blues midfielder Jorginho rescued a point as the Italians' penalty atoned for the error that allowed Jadon Sancho to put the visitors in front at Stamford Bridge. Goals from Ilkay Gundogan and Fernandinho guided Manchester City through a snowstorm and up to second in the Premier League with a 2-1 victory over West Ham at Etihad Stadium. Claudio Ranieri's return to Leicester ended in disappointment as Brendan Rodgers' side got back to winning ways with a 4-2 victory over Watford in snowy conditions at the King Power Stadium. Former UFC champion Conor McGregor says he will be cleared to spar again by April. A superstar fighter fractured the tibia and fibula of his left leg against Dustin Poirier at UFC 264 on July 10th. McGregor lost that bout to Poirier via doctor's stoppage at the end of the first round. Upon his comeback, McGregor, who is the biggest box office draw in UFC history, expects to challenge whoever is the UFC lightweight champion. Finally, tonight, what sets you in the mood for Christmas is the warmth and nostalgic feelings around loved ones for all the streets properly lit with Christmas decorations and jingle bells. Over the years, Zenith Bank PLC, through the beautification of Ajose Adogun in Lagos, has continued to attract holiday makers from far and near to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the massive Christmas decoration. Our correspondent, Dari Idowu, captured the moments.
Ajose Adogun in Victoria Island, Lagos is the new center of attraction. Christmas decorations with colorful lights strewn across the streets. The Light Carnival is Zenith Bank's Christmas boot setting tradition, and the bank is back to lighten up hearts. A week ago, the group managing director of Zenith Bank PLC, Ebenezer Oyagu, flicked the light switch, opening up the area to a renewed energy and experience.
We pray and hope that your Christmas will be joyous, it will be merry, it will be filled with love, it will be filled with peace. Amen. I hereby activate the spirit of Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, the popular Jose Adeogun Park on Victoria Island, Lagos, is a buzz, lined with thousands of bulbs, and they are glowing at the moment. People are coming around with family and friends to take pictures. They say they're quite excited that the bank has brought back that light-up project that would bring a lot of excitement during the festivities. Christmas is in the air and it smells nice.
I am so excited. Like, this is wonderful.
Gillard, an Israeli, is here with his mom. It's a different kind of experience for them, and they love all of it.
Oh, it's for me, you know, I was raised as a Jewish, and we don't celebrate Christmas. We have our own celebration, and when I was young, you see the Christmas on TV and abroad, and it's very special, you know. It's something that we are not used to, and we are very excited to see the lights, the festivity of it. It's really exciting, yeah.
Good lighting is a delight for anyone with the camera. Daniel Oceans, a cinematographer, is here with his friends to capture the beautiful landscape, and the fittings provide exquisite backdrop for them.
It's quite exciting. I intend coming here every day to get different experience.
Christmas is like my favorite time of the year. Like, the end of the year is so much fun. So it really sets the mood. Like, it makes you like very excited.
The coming days will see more and more people stop by at Jose Adeogun, lit up by Zenith Bank PLC, to share moments with loved ones in the spirit of Christmas. Dari Ido, Channels Television News.
It's official, Christmas has started. And the main news again. Security forces have said that they're containing an attack by gunmen on Jos Correctional Center this evening. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. From all of us here, it's good night.